What's up, everybody? I've just had an epiphany, a revelation, insight, whatever you want to call it. Actually, it's been building for quite some time, and I just wanted to share it with you. I found a kind of a theory or a frame that helps me with coaching. Is something I call the X factor. The X factor is something inside yourself that is ultimately at the core of all of your suffering. There's kind of one thing that you've been in battle with your entire life. And I have a theory that your enjoyment of life, your quality of life, whether or not your life has meaning and purpose and satisfaction, all depends on whether or not you win this battle. And everybody's got a different X factor. And it's a very specific thing, a representation of pain, suffering, grief, anger and rage that you have in your life. This enemy inside your mind. Now mine was in relationship to nice guy syndrome. In fact, I shouldn't use the word was. Mine is in relationship to nice guy syndrome. And for me, my demon, my X factor, is a compulsive need to make other people feel happy so that they'll like me. I will forever be in battle with this, I think. My entire life is going to be about this battle. Whether or not I have a good day will depend on whether my values, my integrity comes out on top, or whether my nice guy syndrome, people-pleasing, comes out on top. When people-pleasing wins, I have a dissatisfying day, week, month, whatever. When my integrity wins, I get to enjoy being me. My life has meaning and purpose. It's not what I call happiness, but it's a satisfaction with being alive. Most people don't even know what the X factor is, and it controls them entirely. Many different sort of thought leaders have said similar things. I think Jordan Peterson says it's what you don't know that controls you. And the Stoics said many other things like that. You don't know what you don't know. And in this particular case, your X factor, if you don't know what your X factor is, it will basically make all of your decisions for you in most areas of life. For some people, X factor might be a bitterness towards a certain group of people, a type of racism or sexism or something like that, a prejudice. And your battle is about whether or not love or hate wins. Your quality of life comes from whether or not love or hate wins the battle. For some of you, it's a self-worth issue. See, I'm a weird type of nice guy. I always kind of had high self-worth. I thought of myself as a good person. I just struggled with interacting with the world because I tried to make people like me to confirm that I was a good person. But I always kind of suspected that I was one. My self-worth wasn't really a massive issue all the time, but it did fluctuate depending on whether or not people like me. For some people, some of my clients, their X factor is self-worth. The not good enough story, the lack of self-acceptance, the I should be something other than what I am. That is their X factor. If they accept who they are, they have a good day. And if they think they should be better, they think there's improvement needed, they have an awful day. Your X factor controls your life. You have to figure out what it is. For some people, it's mere resistance. Resistance to even figuring out what the X factor is. And it's actually that resistance. There are some people who are contrarian. They resist any support, any help, any good ideas, simply because they automatically resist everything. And you get this with some. This is, I think, the X factor that causes the most suffering. When you're resistant to new ideas, when you are resistant to beliefs that contradict your own, that is your X factor. That resistance, if you can beat that resistance, if you open your mind to better ideas, you'll have a good day. And if you refuse to accept that you might be wrong, you'll have a terrible day, week, month, whatever. I'm not going anywhere in particular with this, but I want to point out that I believe your purpose in life, if anything, is to win this battle. It's the only thing you'll ever really need to do to find satisfaction. You don't need money, you don't need to look good, you don't need people to love you. You don't need any of that stuff. That's usually like a medication against the symptoms of this X Factor battle. You're just avoiding the battle by chasing these other things. Your real battle lies with that one thing that you don't want to fight. Your bitterness and resentment, your resistance, your compulsion, your addiction, whatever it is, your X Factor. Facing that battle. The thing is, if you try to win and lose, that can still be satisfying. There's times where I'm trying really hard to have integrity and I just fuck it up. But because I was trying to have integrity, I get to sleep at night. I get to be okay with who I am. It was the best I could do. It's when I avoid integrity and take the easy route, the comfortable route of making people like me, that's when I really lose. I can fight and lose, and that's not really a loss. You know, there's a friend of mine, I can see that his X factor is bitterness and resentment toward women as a group. It's not misogyny exactly, it's not hatred, it's more like despair. Why are they like this? Why do they treat me this way? Why am I suffering so much at their hands? But his real X factor is resistance to the idea of responsibility, resistance to the fact that they don't hurt him, he hurts himself in reaction to their behavior, or he allows them to hurt him. Until he faces that, he will always suffer. Until he understands that responsibility is his X factor, he will always suffer. Integrity is my X factor. What's yours? Figure it out, fight for it every day, and you'll have a meaningful life. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to hear more rants like this. Comment below with your thoughts and ideas. Share your X factor with the world. Make a commitment publicly to deal with it. And get in touch if I can help. Dan@brojo.co.nz. I'll see you next time.